guys, so today we are continuing with Eyeshadow Palette Week here on my channel. If you have missed any of the videos earlier this week, I will link those down below. But every day this week, Monday through Friday, I will be launching a new video talking all about eyeshadow palettes. Eyeshadow palettes continue to be that thing in my collection that brings me more joy than anything else. Like, I love a lot of different makeup products for different reasons, but I will always have a soft spot for eyeshadow in a way that just makes my heart go pitter patter. So today's video, we are going to be talking about the top 5 underrated high-end eyeshadow palettes out there. I did a drugstore version of this yesterday. I will link that down below if you are curious about some underrated drugstore eyeshadow palettes. But today I wanted to focus on some eyeshadow palettes in my collection that I just feel like are fantastic that I don't hear anybody talking about. So we have to start with the eyeshadow palette that definitely inspired me to do this video today. There's one palette in particular that every time I reach for it, every time I use it, I'm like, why does nobody talk about this? And I feel like it had been discontinued for a short period of time, but is now back for sale both on the brand's website and at Ulta. Thinking potentially it had a little bit of a cult status with, I would consider to be like, people who don't make videos, right? I think it had gotten a lot of love there, but not a lot of love on YouTube. And I am talking about the Pure Visionary palette. So this is the only palette that I own from Pure. I like the packaging. It's got a really pretty sort of raised sort of 3D texture here on the front, but it's also very easy to wipe down with, and with a white palette, that's always nice to see. So you do have a mirror up here at the top, and then you have 12 eyeshadows, which, can we just have a moment to say how awesome it is to see that these are removable pans. They deliberately built this palette so that you can pop these eyeshadows out and combine them with other eyeshadow singles in your collection, and I love that. This foiled eyeshadow formula is fan-freaking-tastic. It has probably one of my favorite rose gold shades that is in any of my eyeshadow palettes. It's so foiled and so pretty, and such a lovely rose gold that has just like a kiss of copper to it. I think it's stunning. All of the foiled shades in this palette just have this real intensity and real shine to them that I think are gorgeous. And then you've got them grounded in really pretty soft berries, really pretty sort of pinky, plummy sort of matte shades. You can definitely go neutral, you can go rose gold, you can go berry, you can go purpley with this palette. To me, this is a cool toned lover's warm tone palette, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It gives you a little bit of warmth, but in a way that is not incredibly orange or yellow or red, right? It goes more in that berry family. And I just think it is such a beautiful palette, such a beautiful formula. Every time I reach for this, I get super excited and inspired. And yeah, it's definitely one that I don't think gets enough hype out there. This next palette is newer into my collection. I bought it this year, but has quickly moved up the ranks to be probably in my top 5 eyeshadow palettes. This is from Aether Beauty. I do feel like there are some channels I watch that talk about Aether and give them the credit I think they should get, but I don't think it's a brand that's caught on mainstream, and I don't see a lot of the bigger YouTubers talking about Aether, and I think that they should. This is the Rose Quartz palette, and if you are somebody who likes rosy type shades, if you like a little bit of taupe, if you enjoy going a little cooler tone in gray, this is a great palette. But then you've also got some really interesting sort of duochrome shades that go a little bit gold / rose that I think are really unique and pretty. You've got some really pretty soft steely taupe shades down here, some really interesting sort of muted purpley tones here in the middle, and it's grounded with some really nice neutral mattes that I just think are so flattering on my cooler undertone. It's a really easy palette to work with. I can make fantastic, super quick, easy looks, or I can make looks that are a little bit more complex and tap different sort of these glittery type shades over top of things to get lots of dimension and shine. And I do feel like, for the fact that I have only had this for this year and it's already showing so much like wear and tear, kind of shows how much I like reaching for this palette. And as someone with a very large collection, as somebody who likes mixing up eyeshadow palettes, for me to be reaching back to this one so many times this year, really I think shows how fantastic this palette is. The next palette I want to talk about is from Winky Lux, and I feel like Winky Lux is a brand that doesn't get a whole lot of hype in general. I did go into my Target to pick up some groceries and like essentials the other day, and I saw as I was walking past there was like a whole end cap in my Target with a zillion Winky Lux products, and I kind of paused and walked over and looked at it, and I may at some point go and try a few more products from them. At this point I think I've only tried their eyeshadow palettes, but one eyeshadow palette that I picked up, because they also carry this brand at Nordstrom, at least they used to, was this Cashmere Kitten palette. I think the packaging is super cute. It's a little kitschy, but it's just really cute to me as well. And I just so love the color story in here. This is a very pretty cool toned palette that also allows you to go neutral. Like, you don't have to go sort of gray and purple in here. You've got two neutral browns in here and then a slightly warmer and slightly cool toned sort of bronze shade. So I feel like there's a lot of diversity in here to go a little bit more rosy and purpley, or a little bit more steely gray, or a little bit more neutral. You've got this white duochrome, which is a lot of fun. It's sort of one of those pink shifting white shades that kind of transforms shades in here. I don't know, like I look at this palette and I see instantly like 5 looks that I want to do, and so I actually have a hard time deciding which direction I want to go when I open this palette. Some people may look at this and think it looks very boring and neutral, but I really get inspired by this particular 9pan palette. I also think their formula is great. Their mattes are very easy, they're very blendable, they're buildable, they're not the most intense pigmented mattes right out of the gate, but as somebody as fair as me who really enjoys building up eyeshadow slowly as opposed to like lightly tapping on the world's most pigmented eyeshadow and then very carefully blending out the edges, like I want to be a little bit more free. I want to be a little more sloppy. I want to be able to kind of just add and blend as I go, and a formula like that really allows me to do that. So Cashmere Kitten palette from Winky Lux is fantastic. I have one other Winky Lux palette and I enjoy that one every bit as much as this one. I just wanted to call out this one because I think this color story is just my favorite. Let's talk about a palette that's newer to my collection but has so impressed me. This is from the brand PYT. Also don't feel like this brand gets a ton of hype. I know a few people have talked about their blushes. I know Khaki Reviews Beauty has talked about these eyeshadow palettes. I think she's about the only person I have seen talk about them. There's 2 of them. There's a warm toned one and a cool toned one. I got the cool toned palette, and I have to say I'm just so impressed with just how easy and wearable this is. Like, this will become a go-to travel palette for me once I'm traveling more. I can 100% predict that now. I really like that you've got larger pan sizes of both the matte and the shimmer shade that you'll probably use most frequently and all over your lid, etc. I actually think this shade down here, which is more of a satin texture, whereas these lean a little bit more metallic, will make an absolutely stunning face highlighter. So I kind of like that I'm getting that face highlighter in here as well. The mattes are very easy to work with, very easy and blendable. You're getting more of a cool tone taupey look out of the mattes in here. And then the shimmer shades in here actually remind me a lot of the formulation inside of the Persona Cosmetics palette, in the sense that they are very smoothing on the eyes, and it's not that they are not metallic, they're just not foiled. They give you that metallic shine without emphasizing texture. So if you are somebody who really avoids sort of foiled or very wet looking shadows because they emphasize lines or texture on your lids, this is one that I think is very, very forgiving. And I really like the fact that the lid shades, this is, I would say, a fairly standard sort of metallic champagne color, but I kind of like that they went with this olivey grungy tone and then this sort of murky berry tone as the 2 other lid shades, because I feel like a lot of the neutral everyday eyeshadow palettes tend to go beige and brown, And so I was just pleasantly surprised and really enjoyed the choice of these two shades in particular. So I very much enjoy this. I also think the packaging is really nice. So yeah, so that is from PYT Beauty, and this is their Day to Night eyeshadow palette in the cool tone version. Fifth and final palette that I think is underrated, and I feel like it had a little bit of hype when it came out, but this brand in general, at least here in the United States, I don't think gets enough credit for being awesome in general. And it's a brand that I would really like to explore more at some point throughout this year, and that is Noblet Cosmetics. And this is my Dreamy palette. There was a video going around where they asked, like, what eyeshadow palette would you pick if you had to get rid of every other eyeshadow palette? Like, if you could only use one for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I picked this one, and it was in large part because I felt like I had really pretty murky purpley tones. I could go very warm tones, sort of sunset eye. I could also go very neutral with this matte and this brown and like one of the gold or the white shades. Like, I could have a very classic neutral eye in here. The only shade in this palette that I just don't really care for is this one up here in the corner. It's a very crumbly, thin sort of glitter top coat, and I just don't find that it performs very, very well. I did want to call that out, but every other shade in here is absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. I like the pigmentation. I like the color story. I like one of my favorite looks is actually putting this peach shade through my lid and then putting this lavender all over my eye. I really think that this combination of like a warmer toned peach and a cooler toned lavender is just really, really pretty. Yeah, there just seems to be endless color combos inside of this palette. The formulas are really easy to work with, very, very pigmented, very, very smooth. This is the only Noblet palette, and it's the only Noblet product, quite frankly, that I own. I'd kind of like to change that. I talked about in a recent sort of will I buy it, this idea of potentially buying from some Italian makeup brands deliberately, just because their country was so hard hit, and I'm sure those brands are really, really struggling. So Noblet is one of those brands that's definitely high up on my list to try, along with Kiko Milano. I want to pick up some more products from them as well. But the Noblet Dreamy palette, absolutely love it. Think it's fantastic, and people really should be talking about it more. All right, guys, so that wraps us up for today. We got 2 more videos coming out this week, Thursday and Friday. Make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on any of that content. I hope you're having an amazing week. Talk to you soon.